the burden that was lifted off me immediately. I was like, oh my God, have I been holding this in my whole life? You know, it's just chaos is the only word I have to describe it.
Meet Emma, a fearless content creator, marketing powerhouse, and a refreshingly honest voice breaking down the realities of being neurodivergent. And welcome back to another episode of Fast Brain Women, where we are winging it on this podcast to bring you lots of juicy stories and real life experience of women that identify as someone who has a fast brain. So I'm one of your hosts, Danny, and I'm here with my lovely friend, colleague, and podcast co-host, Lorna King. And we're also blessed with a special guest, Emma, today.
Hello.
Who I'm fangirling because I have followed Emma on TikTok for, I'm going to say a few years now, right? But introduce yourself, tell us who you are, and then let's get stuck into some questions.
Grand. Hi, my name's Emma. You can find me on socials at @EmmaFlig_. Shameless plug to start with.
Excellent.
I'm a content creator, but I'm also a marketeer. I've been in B2C marketing now for 12 years in August, which has flown by. A huge variety of B2C roles across consumer goods and retail. 4 or 5 years ago, started making content on TikTok, and now I have 106,000 followers on TikTok, which I'm very proud of. Hit 106 this week.
Mabruk.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit more about it. You've got an OG here and someone who's never really used TikTok.
Brilliant.
So tell me a little bit about your channel.
So my channel started through my braces journey. I was getting fixed braces and I wanted to document it on TikTok. I'm not ashamed to admit, I've always wanted a little bit of internet clout. Back when Tumblr was a thing, I tried the Tumblr thing, didn't work for me. When I was in uni, I tried a YouTube channel, but I was too scared of like people's comments and stuff like that. So then that lasted about 4 or 5 episodes or videos or whatever you want to call it. And then consumed TikTok and stuff during lockdown, made a few videos, didn't really go very far. And then when I was getting my braces done, I was like, oh, I want to document this. And I knew it would have some legs. Like, I'm not naive to that. But within 24 hours, I had 10,000 followers.
Wow.
I've posted my first video just saying I'm getting braces.
What was it about the braces that you knew was going to be the thing?
I knew people wanted a story. I know that that's why people follow people. And I knew I had something that wasn't being shown on the internet at the time. You know, TikTok, it was around September 2020 I got my braces. So we got into lockdown. You know, there were a lot of people online, but a lot of the people that were doing quite well on there were people who'd moved over from Instagram. So still very curated, you know, certain body types, body shapes, etc. And then there's me coming on with like a mouth guard in, showing off my wonky teeth, being like, yeah, I'm getting braces. And people like, this is totally new. I knew people would be interested in it. I just wasn't prepared for the speed at which people were suddenly interested. But then, like I said, it's been 5 years now, and you sort of go through it's upwards overall, but you have stages of real growth, then it slumps, then real growth, then it slumps, then real growth. But yeah, that's how I started my TikTok, through my braces. But there's only so much dental content you can make without being a dentist.
And at some point your teeth are done, I assume, right? That journey is over.
And there's only so much I can show. You know, I get my braces tightened every 6 weeks. You know, I see the hygienist every 6 months. I'm like, I need to start posting like other stuff.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I think I'm quite funny. I'll start to show my life. And so it all sort of intertwined. So now, obviously, the braces are off. They've been off for a couple of years now. You know, I'm not going to be doing all these fancy transitions or these special effects. But if you want to just get an update on who I am or what I'm thinking about or where I've been, you know, it's like FaceTime with a friend. It's the most uncurated yet curated, because it's still social media content you'll see.
The people are just nosy. Like, we want to just have little like voyeuristic sneaky peeks into other people's lives.
I mean, I looked at it very intentionally the other day because I knew you were coming, and, you know, the whole thing about how to tie the shayla and, you know, very on point for the region that we live in, for the season that we're in right now. I myself had to try and, you know, do up a shayla the other day with security and failed. So had I found that earlier, it would have been super useful. But yeah, I can see definitely that appeal.
Yeah.
How you wanted the internet clout. It obviously, there's a lot of diversity to this. Like, how does this all tie in with your ADHD journey, or does it?
It does, actually, funny enough. I got diagnosed with ADHD coming up to 3 years ago now. it was just before I flew back to the UK, summer 23. No, so it'll be 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
I can't do maths.
Most
That's why my brother has the finance masters and I don't. I learned about ADHD through TikTok. It started coming up on my algorithm, and I was like, oh, that sounds kind of familiar. But I'd always thought that ADHD was for boys. There was a boy in my year who had ADHD, prime, ADHD subject, especially in, young adolescent boys. Never once thought about it for me. And I've always struggled mentally with a lot of things in my life. I've got a lot of childhood traumas. I don't speak to my biological mum. She was really emotionally abusive to me. So, then I start to think, are all of my issues stemming from the relationship or the lack thereof that I have with her? So I started going to therapy in my early mid-20s, around 23. And I don't think there's been a year since where I haven't had any sort of psychiatric help at all. But TikTok introduced me to the fact that one, girls can get ADHD, and two, that it's a real thing that needs to be considered. And I started looking into it, and I thought, that's what I've got. I've got ADHD. I was like, this explains so much. So then I tried to get onto the NHS waiting list. The wait was, waiting, but I was quite lucky. I was able, before I realised that, I did some talking therapy, both privately and through the NHS, CBT therapy, which changed my life already through the NHS, and some other, bits and bobs, antidepressants, anti-anxiety meds, which worked to an extent, but didn't quite hit. And then, learned about ADHD, moved over here, was able to, was talking about it to a girl I know here. I was like, I think I have ADHD. She's like, I think you do too, because I've got it. And I was like, nice. Where did you go? She's like, I went here, go and see this guy. I was like, okay, cool, no problem. So I went and saw him. He's like, yep, you've got ADHD. Got diagnosed, no issue. In true ADHD fashion, I got diagnosed. My appointment is at 5 or 6 o'clock on whatever day of the week it was, and I was flying out to the UK at 2 a.m. the next day. And the only reason I was doing it is because my stepmom and I had been talking about it, and I was like, if I don't go back to the UK with an ADHD diagnosis, she's going to kill me. She's actually going to kill me. You've known about this for months. Why haven't you seen someone? I've got ADHD. You can't put things off and you've got ADHD.
There was a deadline involved.
Yeah. So then, but through learning about ADHD, that's when I started learning about AuDHD, so AuDHD, so autism and ADHD. And I was thinking, I might have both. I think I've kind of got, this is also sounding quite familiar as well. And autism, especially, people associate autism with such extremes of the condition, if the condition is the right word, is the word that I use for it. And so I was thinking, I can't be. And then I'm like, I think I actually am a little bit. So then when I got my ADHD diagnosis, I said to the guy, I was like, I think I might have autism too. And he was like, I think you do, but I'm not legally allowed to diagnose you. You need to go here instead. I was like, cool.
So you had to go to a separate place?
Separate place, both in Dubai though.
Okay.
Got
really
interesting. Especially in the region, there's a lot of stigma when it comes to neurodivergence. Even in the West, there's still a lot of stigma, but I think here they're still fairly behind in that front. But I was seen quickly because of the private healthcare system. I was treated with respect and dignity, and my feelings were completely validated. I never once had to worry about am I saying the right thing? Do they believe me? Do they not? I got really lucky. I had a really seamless process here. Then I ended up getting my autism diagnosis about 6 months later. It was very back end of 2023. I got my autism diagnosis. So I got both, which is great. All thanks to TikTok. Cheers, COVID.
But I think that, there are naysayers that will, be worried about how social media is bringing attention around sort of all topics, right? And creating awareness. However, I think there's many guests on this podcast that have had epiphanies, aha moments through, understanding. And it's just a channel for information, Old school will be going to the library and looking at books, although ADHD for women and adults didn't exist then, but you know what I mean? So times are changing, and I don't see it as a bad thing personally. I don't know. What do you think, Lorna?
The social media does make it more understandable. I think we've said it before. You can look at a list of all of the traits and you think, yeah. But it really comes alive when you see it through people's stories, through their journey, through the content, the lived experiences of humans. And that is what social media is amazing for, and is helping us have access to more than information. It's a feeling. You feel that connection. You're like, oh, that is me.
Yeah. Oh, that makes so much sense.
It makes you feel so much more seen. And I think that's why we do this podcast, is so that we can hear from people like you and your experiences. And it's so much richer than reading it on a page.
Yeah, exactly. And I got diagnosed at 30 and a few months, you know.
Very specific.
30 and a bit. Well, I'm autistic. I'm a very specific person. You know, when I first got diagnosed, I was so angry because I'm like, I'm a textbook ADHD case. Autism, I'm just on the autism scale. Out of what is it, about 14 or something, I'm an 8. And I think 7 is you're officially classed as autistic. But like ADHD, I am a textbook. And I was so angry that my school failed me, the people who saw my traits the most, colleagues, managers, you know, my parents. There's so much that was missed. Had there'd been more awareness about it, whether that be through, you know, traditional media, because of course back then social media didn't exist, who knows where I'd be. Ultimately, I've done quite well out of it.
I was going to stop you there.
Alhamdulillah, I've been quite lucky, but you know, you can't help but think what people, the amount of people that are in the exact same situation as me who are maybe still on the NHS waiting list. I remember there's because there's a lot of people coming up with everybody's suddenly this or that these days. And I remember someone saying it used to be illegal to be left-handed in the 1900s.
Oh, okay.
Once they started making left-handedness okay, suddenly the amount of people who were left-handed was the fifth of the population or something like that. Just because something isn't documented doesn't mean it's never existed.
Yes.
And I was like, oh my God, ding, 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 ding. Like, that's my argument. Like, you think left-handed people you don't have to go to the extremes of, you know, neurodivergence or anything. You're left-handed, you know, you wouldn't have been able to write with your left hand 130, 140 years ago.
You're forced to do things a different way, and it's possible, but it ain't easy. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, my grandpa, he's left-handed, and only, you know, in the last 20 or 30 years has he felt comfortable to actually eat his food properly, because growing up he was not allowed to, like fundamentally not allowed to.
And I think this is important about what you said earlier. You have achieved success in spite of or in conjunction with the ADHD, but maybe it didn't need to be this hard. And I think that's the thing. We can all go on to achieve great things, but I think there's often more of a struggle that isn't necessarily necessary. And that makes me sad that we're just working so dang hard to get, you know, great results. But
how did it feel for you, like pre-diagnosis?
It was just chaos. My life was chaos. MTV would have loved me. You know, honestly, like early 2000s MTV, they should have just put a GoPro on my head and just followed me in my day-to-day life. It was chaos. The way I did my work was chaos. My relationships were chaos, whether they be romantic or friendly. You know, I didn't realise, but I had a problem, an alcohol problem that was fueled by my ADHD, because I can't have one drink. That doesn't exist. You know, so even if I just want to have like a drink at home, I would drink quite literally an entire bottle of gin at home, because I just wouldn't be able to stop. And I'm thinking, God, I'm an alcoholic. Arguably, but actually I have ADHD and I physically can't stop myself, you know? Or, you know, when people say, you know, do it for the plot, do it for the storyline. I was doing that before that was a trend. I was just doing things, just go, why'd you do that? I don't know, I just felt like it. You know,
the impulsivity or the dopamine chasing.
Impulsivity, dopamine chasing, trying. I knew there was something different with me, but I didn't realize it was a mental difference. I thought it was more like a physical body type difference. So, you know, really trying to fit in, like overly desperate to fit in, but then also at the same breath being both bothered that people didn't like me and also unbothered at the same time. Like we mentioned before we came on camera, I've never really had imposter syndrome. Like I've always been excluded in many different ways in my life, but I've never felt like I never deserved to be somewhere. I've always been like, oh, well, it's their loss, you know, F them, it's their problem, it's not mine. So there's so much going on up in this, you know, big head, little brain of mine. And then you're there, you get your diagnosis and you get in your meds, and I'm there like, oh, is this what peace feels like? Like, it's just great. I'm like, oh, this is so nice. But now I'm 31, nearly 32, and I'm exhausted. Exhausted. People, and everybody's there like I'm tired. I'm like, no. Like, I'm
to my bones.
I am exhausted, and it's only once you get on the meds or you complete your therapy, like I mentioned earlier, CBT. Once I completed my CBT therapy, it's like 8 or 12 weeks in the NHS. The burden that was lifted off me immediately, I was like, oh my God, have I been holding this in my whole life? You know, it's just chaos is the only word I have to describe it.
So what exhausts you the most in a moment of sort of self-awareness?
I think just, and this is for people who aren't neurodivergent, they're going to be like, well, it's just all the thinking. Think about everything. I'm one of those people who notices everything. Like, any sort of thriller or a film with a big plot twist, I've always got to the twist before the end of it. You know, my grandma calls them like whodunits. You know,
about pattern recognition, isn't it, with neurodivergency? I don't know if it's that strong in me, but I think particularly once you start bridging or like combining the autism with the ADHD, then that becomes a superpower for sure.
Yeah. And then noticing other people, other things, little things. You know, I could tell when a male colleague would come in and he'd had his hair cut, oh, fresh trim. I'd be like, my wife didn't even notice. I just noticed things like that. Or, you know, I could suddenly tell when someone's off with me, whether it be a colleague, a manager, a boyfriend, a friend, whatever, a parent. I can tell when someone's off with me. You know, deadlines, you know, managing other people, trying to also manage my expectations on myself, trying to figure out, you know, whether I'm doing too much or not doing enough. What else? Oh, I had another brainwave, but I've lost it.
It's exhausted even listening to that list as well. I'm like, oh yeah, that too. Oh yeah, that as well.
It's relatable.
Do the people around you get it? Do they get you a little bit more now you have a kind of diagnosis? How do you?
I think so, especially my closest friends. But I definitely realised, especially with my autism diagnosis, I'm ADHD when I'm alone and I'm autistic when I'm with people. Okay. So I speak to all of my friends, especially the friends I've known since I was like a teenager, like clubbing days, whatever. I was always the mum. I'd be the drunkest and I'd be the sloppiest, but I'd still be the mum. Everybody got home, you know, everybody had something to eat, you know, and so I think that's why the ADHD surprised my friends, especially a lot, rather than the autism. The ADHD, my family kind of got. The autism was no surprise because it's hereditary and Dad, you need to see someone. And when I sent them my report, apparently my brother was there messaging my stepmom. I'm like, this kind of sounds familiar. I'm like, kind of got the same parents, my dude. You need my therapist number, I can send it to you. So I don't think it was a huge surprise to people. I think maybe like the double whammy was a surprise.
That's so interesting. So it seems like the ADHD is when you're trying to manage yourself, but then the autism comes out when you're sort of mirroring yourself against other people.
Yeah. It's kind of like I see it more as like teacher and substitute teacher. My autism, when I'm in front of people, is when I've got the teacher in front of me and I need to be on my best behaviour. Then the ADHD is when I'm on my own. There's no one to really pay attention to me. It's a substitute teacher that no one really cares about. So you're just playing on your phone, whatever. So my ADHD is on my own. I've got no teacher around me, nothing. I can just do whatever I want and hang out.
Is there an element of like performance in that? Or
100%.
And how does that kind of manifest?
I've always been told, especially from management, that I, you know, need to tone it down and you're too loud and you're this and that. And now I'm here like, oh, I've got ADHD. This kind of explains the whole thing. But before I even got diagnosed with it, I kind of got to the stage of my life where I was just like, if you don't like me for who I am, you can respectfully go F yourself. Yeah. Like, it's exhausting. I started working at 20 years old. I don't have a degree. I dropped out of university. Alhamdulillah, I got really lucky. Got straight into like a full-on corporate career. And it's been, you know, not smooth sailing, but we've sailed the last 11 years. But every single time it's, you're really great, you're so creative, the team love you, but you're too loud and, you know, you just need to tone it down a bit and blah, blah, blah. And that's always come from direct management. But then when I'd speak to VPs or the CMOs, we love you, don't ever change. You're exactly what the team needs. And so then I'm now bouncing the fact that I'm getting performance reviews saying one thing, but then I'm getting your boss's boss telling me to not change. So I got to the stage of my life where I was like, if you don't like me for me, I can only change so much of myself before I'm literally just a shell. Yeah. Like I will end up just becoming like this full recluse, depressive episode. I know that's what I'm like. So I've been able to find a good balance of it where you still have what I describe as like the Emmerisms, but not losing the sense of who I am as a person. Yeah. You know, I'll never have a balance that's perfect for anybody because it's such a subjective thing. But ultimately, the people who get it, get it.
It sounds like you were already working so hard to contain yourself to get feedback on top of that to say you're not doing it well enough. It can be a bit soul destroying. Yeah. You're like, I'm already putting a lid on it. Yeah. What more do you want from me?
But also in the same breath, you're telling me that my work is outstanding. My ideas are creative. You know, from a marketing perspective, you know, I'm good at my job. There's actually no issue with the output of my work. It's my personality. What?
How dare you have a personality?
Heaven forbid. And then best believe every time I leave a job, you know what I get? A couple of weeks afterwards, the office is so quiet, we all miss you. I'm like, yeah, I know. I know.
Just got a team full of Volvos at that point.
Literally. No offense to Volvo. They're reliable. But, you know, every organisation needs a good balance of people. If there are 6 of me, I'd get pissed off too. You just got one, that's all you need.
Yeah, that's right.
There we go.
You don't need more than one.
We're going to take just a quick ADHD-friendly pause. And if you're listening to this while multitasking, then this is most definitely for you, so listen up. The Endel app is honestly my secret weapon to getting things done. It's a sound wellness app that creates these personalised soundscapes designed to help your brain do what it's meant to be doing in that moment. I use it every single day, and whether I'm locking in, focusing, or just wanting to fall asleep at a human hour, it's Endel that gets me there. These guys are such big supporters of the ADHD community, and they're giving you a whole month to try it for free. So you can find the link in the description or send us a DM wherever on our socials if you can't find it, and we will send it to you. And if you got distracted along the way, even during this little short break, we have gifted you a lovely 5-minute relaxing soundscape from Endel at the end of this episode. So stick around and enjoy. How does that fit with your choice of like a marketing career? Like, how did you get into marketing?
It's a mixture of luck, tenacity and skill, but mainly luck. But I'm not going to say I don't have any tenacity or skill because I absolutely do. From being a teenager, I knew I wanted to work in retail. Didn't quite get to marketing to start with. Initially, I wanted to be a buyer. I saw an advert for TK Maxx online, and it was this woman getting out of a cab in New York City, and she was buying the products, and I was like, shopping for a living, sign me up.
That sounds excellent.
That's a bit of me. I was like, yeah, great. And I have a good eye. I don't apply it to myself, but I've got a good eye. I was like, cool, that's what I want to do. Working various retail jobs, you know, all of this. Started working at 16, did 1 year of A-levels, my AS levels, good grades, A, B, C, hated it, left. Went to do a national diploma in business with a specialism in retail. That was super easy. College was great. 100% coursework, 3.5 days. So I was able to work 2 retail jobs while at college. I was earning bank. 16, 17, 18. Then I went to university to study retail management because I was like, I'm going to be a buyer. I was like, yeah, this is a bit of me.
The advert.
I was like,
New York, here I come.
I want to be girly pop in New York City, getting out of a cab, buying, just looking at clothes. Little did I realise what buying really entailed. So I went to do a degree in retail management down on the South Coast. Hated it. Hated every single bit of it. 2015, 2016, I went to university. iPhones were just coming out. We were learning about apps. People were just starting to shop online. I was like, cool, this is what I'm going to learn about, like the future. What do you mean, like checks and stuff? Like, what? Yeah. Didn't last long. I told my dad I wanted to leave, I think, before the end of the winter, the first term. He was there like, I cannot tell your grandma you dropped out of university if you don't do the whole year.
Just keep the ruse going.
He was like, stay. You've got a job. Just do what you have to do to pass. You're not coming home. I was like, okay. I'm from Milton Keynes. If you don't know, it's a town about an hour north of London. If you follow F1, is where Red Bull's HQ is. You know, you have brands like, at the time there was IKEA, Santander, BP, Homebase, Argos, Radley. There's loads of big businesses that are out there. Applying. I applied for one retailer for a graduate, but A-level. They had an A-level graduate scheme for an accountant. And the whole time I was like, look, don't really want to be an accountant. Want to work for the business. And in true autism style, I was honest from the beginning. You know, my stepmom's like, you need to stop being so honest with people up front. Just, you know, little white lies here and there won't hurt you. No, I can't. They have to know I won't be an accountant forever. It's not my cup of tea. Ended up getting all the way through to the very, very final stage, saying, I don't want to be an accountant, but I want to work here. And then the guy calls me up, the recruiter. He's like, look, we think you're great, but we really need people who want to be accountants. But we think you're great. I'm going to call you when an opportunity comes up. I think there'll be one in a couple of months.
Made quite the impression then.
Look, some can sing, some can dance. I can make an impression. Whether it's good or bad is up to you. But yeah, very few people forget who I am. And then a couple of months later, I was at the Apple store in Central Milton Keynes. Got a phone call. Obviously, everybody picks up their phone because we've all got the same ringtone. Hello. Hello, it's so-and-so from Insert Company here. Got a job we think might be good at. And that was a visual merchandising style job. So then I got that job. Sorry, this is such a ramble. Have fun to whoever's editing this. So then I got that job, which was great. And I was sitting literally next to the buyer. And I was like, I'm in.
The girl.
Let's see where I go on with this. Buying is not for me. Buying is not for me. Buying is maths, analytics, forecasting, profit margins. I thought I was shopping for a living. This isn't what I signed up for. So then that gave me the introduction to the consumer goods retail world. I was like, the industry is right for me. The industry is absolutely what works for me. But buying is not my calling. Loved visual merchandising, you know, was able to move up into it. Several jobs over probably about 3 or 4 years, moved into store development, store of the future, concept stores, working with huge brands, launching products. You know, it's great when people are like, oh, have you seen this? I'm like, yeah, I'm launching it. Like, I know exactly what that is. It's super fun. And then I ended up being able to move from that into a marketing role, which was more retail store marketing focused, then moved into more 360 marketing. And then, yeah, it's ever since then. But yeah, it's been a wild 12 years with a lot that went in behind it. But I got, like I said, I got really lucky. I knew from probably about 13, 14, I want to be in retail. So yeah, that's my story. I'm a strategist to my core. I really am a strategist. I'm not a huge doer. Obviously, you have to do it. You have to do stuff, whatever.
Yeah.
But I am a
strategist. Where it all falls down.
Yeah, I'm a strategist to my core. Ideas, you know, whether no matter how big or small they are, just ideas. How do you come up with this? I don't know.
Don't know where it came from.
I just do.
Well, it's the payoff from, you know, thinking all the time. It's an absolute burden to you, but the world is benefiting from the fantastic synthesis of all of that.
Literally.
And I think when you're talking about the intuition thing, the Malcolm Gladwell book, The Blink, it's like you're absorbing information all the time. It's just that we try to ignore it and try to rationalize it, and actually we're ignoring all of the information that we know in our hearts.
Well, sometimes I'm like, I'll just try it and just see what happens. Sometimes I've gotten in trouble. Sometimes it's just like, don't do that again. 9 times out of 10 it works. But I've said this. I've literally said this to my colleagues. I'm like, at the end of the day, we are selling insert name of product here. I am not a brain surgeon at Great Ormond Street Hospital. It's not that deep. Respectfully, we've just seen our P&Ls just came out. We made however many billion, because I've always worked for big corporates. What's a couple of grand going to do to that? Come on, look at the bigger picture here. Oh, well, let's go through 33,000 levels of... No, it doesn't. Actually, it doesn't. It's not that deep. I'm doing it. You're going to get in trouble. No, I'm not. I don't. You shouldn't have done that.
Hit the big red button. It's done. Sorry, whoopsie.
Yeah, or something. When did that land? I don't remember that. I'm like, oh, yeah, no, sorry, I forgot to tell you about it. You like it.
Have you ever made a mistake that you look back and go, actually, I did mess that one up? That was bad.
Not in a professional work sense, but in a way that I've like carried myself sense. Absolutely. I have a really, really strong sense of really strong sense of doing what's right and what's wrong, whether that's be for myself or holding people accountable. Even the closest people to me, you know, you could be my best friend who I've known for 10, 12, whatever many years now. She does something wrong, I'm going to tell you did the wrong thing. You know, I've lashed out when I've known that ethically something is not the right thing to do. You know, and I've stropped. You know, in my mid-20s, I've been in the office and I've stropped. I'm not doing that. It's the wrong thing to do. I'm not doing it. Emma, it's your job. No, it's not. I'm not doing it. It's the wrong thing to do. Get somebody else to do it. Get somebody from somebody else from the team to do it. I'm not doing it. You know, so those are things where I look back and I'm like, could have handled myself a lot better.
Okay.
I see that a lot. I think we all are aware of justice and the right and wrongs, and again, the consumption when something is amiss. But then does it go back to that masking in a sense, when it's, boiling your blood so deeply to keep it in and not say it, versus... Is that how you say it? How you raise attention to the...
Yeah, and this is where I was going to go earlier, because when you think about the textbook definitions of ADHD and autism, one of the textbook things around autism is the word empathy comes up a lot, right? And one of talking about, memes and reels and things like that, something that got me thinking the other day, could this be a possibility, was I've always been like, I'm so empathetic, blah, blah, like I feel things and stuff. But they were saying there's two types of empathy. There's the logical one, you can understand how people got to a point, and there's the feeling one, like I feel your pain.
Yeah.
And that was saying that, people with autism do have empathy, it's just experienced in a different way, or, a different sort of dimension. I was curious about how you relate to that.
Yeah. I've always been a very empathetic person. I've always been one as well to notice if someone's being silenced, or not necessarily bullied, but sort of like hushed or shunned to the side. I've always been someone to sort of stand up for the middle person, and because I know I have a very dominating personality, which some people don't like, but I use it to my advantage. If I see someone's trying to talk, I'll be like, quiet, you have something to say? But because people listen to me, I'll be there like, okay, I think we've had enough of this, right? I know you want to say something. What do you want to say? And they're like, oh, especially the quieter people. Like I find myself very protective over a lot of people, especially those who are, maybe don't fit in the most. I've never really fit in. I've always had, and even to this day, I have a lot of acquaintances. A lot of people know me. There's a lot of people who I like, but I don't have a lot of like true friends. And that's because a lot of people don't get me enough to be there like, I don't really want to like hang out with her loads, but like she's not a bad person. Like, what works for me. I get way too many WhatsApps anyway, because everybody in Dubai WhatsApps everybody. So yeah, I think empathy is a big thing that I can agree on. It's something that I've always carried with me my entire life. Even from childhood, I've always been the one to be there like, you're quiet, or you're different.
How does Emma look after Emma? So we talked about exhaustion and ideas and empathy and all of this stuff going on, successful career, massive TikTok following. What is it that you do to make sure that you're the best for yourself?
That's a really good question. I'm not as disciplined with myself as I certainly used to be. I was talking about this on a TikTok not too long ago, funnily enough. I don't know, to be fair. There's a lot of things going on in like my personal life at the moment, but I think I don't need to discipline myself as much at the moment because I'm in such a good place mentally. Like when I was really struggling, or when I didn't realise, but now I look back, I'm like, oh, you're clearly struggling. I was at the gym a lot, and I was making sure I was out and about and partying and this and that. It was all just a huge distraction technique. Whereas now, like I have my diagnosis, I take my medication, I have 2 cats who are great, So I think because I'm very good in a mental capacity, that helps me sort of, that makes me not have to worry about taking care of myself as much, ironically enough.
Less fragile.
Yeah, I'm definitely not as fragile. I need to go back to the gym, but for some reason, I can't do it. I'm like, eventually the urge will come back in, but I need to go see a physio. My knee and shoulder are messed up. So I think that's why I'm also actually now I'm thinking out loud, I'm in waiting mode. I can't go to the gym until I see a physio. Once I see the physio, then I go to the gym because I don't want to mess up my joints. Waiting mode is the bane of my life. But I think in terms of sort of taking care of myself, I've always been very good in terms of switching off from work. I go through phases with my content. Right now I'm in like a love phase with my content. Like I love making content, whether it be something that's more stylized or whether it's something where I've just picked up the phone and just started, chatting away. But I think the best thing I did to take care of myself was to get my diagnosis and go on the medication. Literally overnight, the first day I took my Concerta, I was like, oh my God. Like,
welcome back to the planet Earth.
Yeah, literally. Not even
for the first time.
Yeah, it wasn't even a welcome back. I've never been there before. I was like, is that what it means? So
that
I
the
think
concert's not available for the next 3 months and everyone cries.
We all need legends in our life. When you made that comment about why do we need neurotypical people, we need them for relationships to make sure
you know what, his
bills
life
get
wouldn't
paid.
be as spicy if I wasn't in it. So it's all like, yin and yang.
It's the yin and the yang, yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I couldn't date another version of me.
No, I think, like you say, one is enough. And
One is enough.
Totally.
100%.
Totally.
I couldn't do it.
Yes. So what would be then the top tips? It sounds like for you, the diagnosis and the medication really got you on the right path. Is there any sort of day-to-day activities or hacks that you like to use that might be able to benefit our audience?
For me, I'm a list fiend. I realised, now I look back, I knew something was out of place when I wrote a list of what lists I needed to write.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's when I was like, this is a bit weird.
It's when you start getting a reputation for being the list or the journal person as well. And they're like, oh, the joke becomes, oh, you've got another journal.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yes.
I'd be the one in the meeting, tap, 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 tapping away. What are you writing notes for? You'll thank me for this.
I've got your back.
Yeah, I'd always write notes. I remember once I had an interview. How old was I? 20, 21? About 21. And the feedback was, bring a notepad in with you next time. I didn't get the job. She was like, bring a notepad in with you next time. I think it'll really help you. I was like, great. So I took a notepad in with me every interview ever since. And I would literally be there like writing the question, thinking about it. And I just write a few key buzzwords to answer the question. Never had any issues with it before. Everyone was like, oh, I love how you come in. I'm just like, I want to make sure I stay on track. Don't rush it. Take things a bit slower. All of this. Best feedback this woman ever gave me. Bring a notepad in next time. Write down the question. Take your time. Don't rush. I'll do that. And then I had an interview here, funny enough, and the feedback was, lose the notepad. And I was like, absolutely not. This notepad and we are best friends. I always have a notepad.
We have history.
Everything about anybody, we spend our lives trying to fit into this mold and mask and all of these things. Some people will love it, some people will hate it. Some people love the notebook, some people hate the notebook. It's such about finding the right environment for who you are.
Yeah, and I'm always really sus of people who are suspicious of the notebook, but it's always because they're the people who are like, I never said that, and I'm like, yeah, you did. I got it written down.
I got receipts.
I'm like, you got something to hide.
I don't want to make sweeping generalizations, but I feel like this might be more of the moving to the autism side, because I write notes and I can never understand them. They're not dated. They're on different pieces of paper across different offices. And as much as I want to love the lists and the notebooks, I cannot get it organised to make it be of any use for me. But it's a very fun activity to stop the fidgeting.
So I don't know. I love a notebook. I love a note. And yeah, I think it's the autism. I know exactly what notes are written in what notepads. And I can tell you which side of the page it is. I might not be able to know which page, but I'm like, I know it's on the left-hand sheet. It's on the left sheet. There it is.
Wow.
Good skills.
Incredible.
Yeah. So I think lists has always been, even from childhood, lists was always a manager for me. I think if you're someone who's very emotionally driven, like I certainly was, finding a way to release that emotion. So for me, it was exercising. But it might not necessarily have to be running. For me, I guess you could call it quite aggressive workouts, heavy lifting, spin, body pump, boxing, high intensity. That's a much better word for it, but it's also wrecked my knees. So, tread lightly. So I think that was looking back, I think that's why I was going to the gym so often, because it was a way for me to release the pent up emotions that I didn't have a way of managing.
Yeah. I'm not the first person to say that.
Yeah.
Any final words of wisdom? And you want to give yourself one last plug for the social as well, so that we don't forget?
Oh, yeah. I'm trying to think what other words of wisdom I have. Do I have any?
You could just summarise what you've said already.
Yeah, and I think I got a lot of enjoyment, pleasure from following you on social media, so you can definitely drop some wisdom there on a daily
that's
basis.
True. The journey is only just beginning for me, particularly.
Yes.
So
I'm excited. I'm looking forward to seeing your follow.
Yes, it will be on Instagram, though, not on TikTok.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's fine. I'll take it. A dub is a dub.
Yeah.
But no, this was super fun. If you guys want to follow me, you can find me on Instagram and TikTok at EmmaFlick, EMMAFLICC_. Thank you so much for having me. This is super fun.
Lovely. Thank you for joining us.
Good luck to the editor, because I rambled.
Well, that's all part of the fun and winging it of our lovely
We never
podcast.
know where the journey's going to end or start or go in the middle, so...
Has already started, we just don't know about it.
Yeah, some days are being dragged along. But thank you for joining us for another episode. We will be back very shortly, not committing to a time frame, just when our cycle of motivation kicks in. And that's a wrap. Thanks for hanging out with us today. Before you dive back into the chaos, we've got a 5-minute relaxing end-all soundscape to help you reset, unwind, or just stare into space guilt-free. If you loved this episode, it would mean the absolute world to us and also ease our rejection sensitivity. If you hit subscribe, share it with a fast brain friend, or if you loved it, leave us a quick review. Take a breath, stay wild, and enjoy until the next episode of Fast Brain Women.